Okay, we're about to go to the range, and I'm going to bring 45s. Now, there's some 45s here. I feel like first of all, I got a well-rounded representation of the caliber. Well, ways to use the caliber, all right? Because the cartridge is the cartridge, no matter what the platform is. In a way, the gun is the cannon, and the cartridge is the cannonball. But unlike a cannon, which would have powder and then the ball separate, a cartridge has the bullet, in a sense, the ball, and the powder and the primer all in one situation. And the difference is, though, the actual is more a connection with the firearm than a cannon, because the firearm then ejects and reloads. And instead of a battery of arms, it literally has a magazine, and it does everything in one closed unit, semi-automatically once loaded. Of course, then we have the issues of magazines, magazine capacity, magazine durability, and then of course we have all different types of bullets that are loaded into cartridges that may feed well in one and not in the other, or maybe there's some designs that feeds everything. And then we have plus P pressure or plus P plus, and from one manufacturer to another, some companies like Buffalo Bore or Underwood will load much hotter, which will all be harder on the gun. And each gun then might wear out faster or slower compared to the competition. Let's go with the oldest concept. The 1911 here, single stack 45, the original battle pistol there in semi-automatic. What's that now? When you say 1911, there's so many different companies that make 1911s, and within each company, generally speaking, there's different types of 1911s, and there's ways you could alter them from basically, first of all, let's go from the size, from full-size government, generally. It's generally the longest, well, it is longer, but generally speaking, full size is 5 inch. And from there, things going down to about 3.5 inches. If we're talking about in 45, which would be a smaller offers model, obviously, then you can go shorter in the grip. And then from there, you have different materials. 1911 has the most range, from affordable $300-400 brand new, Rock Island type of Philippine made or Tisa's Turkish made, to literally companies like, is it Cabot, that make 1911 customs, like one of what's it, the Damascus, or even stuff, is it grips, or made out of meteorite material. So I mean, you can go up to guns 20, 30, $50,000. You can get really expensive and complete custom build. Is that necessary? No, for a collector or for going that experience, if you got the kind of money flex. But we're talking about for combat pistols. Here's the 1911, a combat pistol. Yeah, it was the original, but in the original design, I prefer the regular GI bushing, the regular GI spring, which is a spring and just a cap here, a plug, and no real full-length guide rod in the 1911 system. The 1911 is going to be the thinnest out of all of them, even though this is made of steel here. This is chrome lined. I believe this is actually not stainless steel. This is chrome. But even though this is the thinnest and it will have the least capacity, it feels very well in the hand. The Pro of the 1911, well, the controls, especially with more modern touch, the extended slide stop, slide release, the extended frame grip safety. This is the frame safety, the grip safety here. The controls are very effortless. The main downside is this: these guns are going to be heavier than the polymer, but if you're looking at that as a downside. So if you're going to carry it, it's going to be heavier and it's going to hold less, which that is a factor, 100%. Now, while shooting it, though, at all steel construction, your hand might feel or perceived or literally have less recoil. And also with the thinner grip, in 45, you get a real solid purchase on this. The downside is you're going to be maximum around, give or take, around 10, which you're going to be 10 plus 1. You're going to be, even then, it's going to be a little extended. The other thing about the 1911 out of all the designs would be the least reliable. What I mean by that is it doesn't mean you can't be reliable with the 1911, but you have to get to know each one, what it likes, what it feeds, what magazines work well in it. Generally, I stick with Metgar or my favorite, the Wilson Combat. Okay, then from there you have all different kinds of triggers, Series 70, Series 80. Series 80 will be a safer firearm, but then it'll be not as a crisp pull, maybe a harder pull, because it has a firing pin plunger. If it is like this is a Series 70, it's a better trigger pull, but you wouldn't want to drop it, especially on the muzzle loaded. You could overcome that inertia by using a lighter titanium firing pin and maybe some stiffer firing pin springs. But I digress. If you go so stiff so the firing pin won't get jostled if you drop it, then you might start having light primer strikes. There's other ways maybe to compensate about that, but let's digress though. So is the 1911 suitable for defense or for carry? It is, but get to know it. Also know though, for casual use is one thing, but if you're going to shoot a lot of ammunition, not just competition, but a lot of ammunition through a 1911, these will wear out faster. Not necessarily the frame per se, although you could damage your frame. You need to replace the springs. The way this is built, you see how thin compared to the other ones we will compare. The 1911, even though it's rather heavy, it's rather thin. There's less room for error, and the springs, everything the way it's designed, and even the slide mass. The Glock, all these slides are much beefier than the 1911. So although the 1911 is heavier than all these, not all the mass is in the slide. All the mass is kind of evenly distributed, which also makes the hand feel very good, almost graceful, the 1911, and very easy to carry because it's so thin. So these are benefits to the 1911, and pinpoint accuracy, fantastic. But all these other designs here, I would trust more reliability, especially if you didn't get to clean or lubricate it, or in more adverse situations, if it got very wet or muddy, etc. But I digress. As a 1911 for regular carry, can be carried safely and durable and reliable enough? Definitely. But under high usage, I would make sure you're doing full cleaning, removing the extractor, because that internal extractor design in this can get rather dirty, and you want to clean out that channel so you don't have issues extracting. And very important to stick with very solid magazines. The rest of these, I would just stick with factory magazines, and you're going to be fine. All these are going to have more capacity, but you're going to have 10 plus 1 with this, 13 plus 1, 13 plus 1, and then 12 plus 1 here. So pretty much similar capacities. This will be being with the least. And this is discontinued, so the SIG 320 is going to be in the mix here, but the only reason why I haven't traded this back to a gun store is that in my rotation here, there's no values left in these, so I'm not going to trade it to a store for $50. So, but the grip on this is the next smallest one, so you're going to get 10 plus 1 versus, let's say, 8 or 7 plus 1 flush. But this would have the next best trigger. The 320 has a fantastic trigger. The problem with 320 is it has a fantastic trigger, and unlike the 1911, it doesn't have this model doesn't have a frame safety or a grip safety. And not saying the 320 can't be carried safely, because it can, but you really want to be careful, because unlike these striker fires here, which actually have these little dinguses in them that prevents the trigger pull if dropped or jostled in the holster, there's nothing. It's a smooth face trigger like this 1911. If the trigger gets rubbed, it's going off, and it's a very short trigger pull on these, where these have a longer, a little more clunkier pull. And even though this is single action, fully cocked striker, and this is mostly cocked about 3/4, and then the initial pull takes it to the back of the wall, and then a hard wall, and then drops it, but it lifts the firing pin block. This does not have a traditional firing pin block. It has a striker little lever here, which is essentially, it works, but it's a very small block on the striker, and the lever is so thin, and it's a very small spring, and I don't see that if that gets very dirty or worn out, to put that on. Now there is a recall on. Okay, or take that back. There is an upgrade on this, but they say it's safe as is, so I never sent it back. But could you carry it? Sure, but it would be my last choice. But is it actual great shooting firearm? Yeah, it's actually a fantastic firearm, the way it shoots, and the trigger and the accuracy is fantastic on the SIG 320 45, with a nice size grip, smaller than these two and this one, but you're going to lose a little bit of capacity. So, and the recoil is actually very good on it, and the cyclic rate and the trigger reset is fantastic. So overall, the gun is very great. Just losing 2 to 3 rounds, but you're going to get a little easier grip. So, and the shorter trigger reach, anyone could handle this properly. So is that worth it? At the end of the day, though, this is discontinued, and it's still supported by SIG if you have a problem, but this is probably going to be the least recommended, just for many reasons. Although if you find one cheap for a used store for $150, you can have a good time with it, but the mags and the 45 are starting to probably maybe get a little harder to find. On the cheapest side, but nothing wrong with it, you can go with the XD 45. You're going to get equal maximum capacity of 13 and 45 plus 1. You're getting a pretty solid trigger. Even though it's a single action trigger, You don't want to try to take the creep on this. When shooting this, I would just go straight to the wall because it doesn't have as a noticeable reset as like the Glock. The Glock, in a way, has a harsher trigger, but you could be more in tune with the reset and the wall and know exactly where the gun is. Where this was almost kind of like guessing. It's like there's a little bit of wall, and there's actually a little creep after the wall, and then it breaks, and you're like, what the fuck? I thought it was at the wall. So don't try to time this. Just pull straight through. It's a shorter reset and a shorter pull than the Glock, but don't try to figure this out. I was much more accurate with this just by pulling and letting go. With a Glock, even though it's a shittier trigger in the feel, it's more predictable. And so that's the greatness of the Glock, is the predictability of it. I know this is a Gen 4, of course, this is a Gen 5 now, etc. These platforms here are extremely durable, very reliable. This has like a loaded chamber indicator. This does it on the extractor, but this actually has a loaded chamber indicator on the top of the slide there. This model, though, does come with a frame safety, although most people bought it without it. I bought this used for a very cheap price. This has a grip safety, which some people hate that on that, and I can understand reasons why, but the gun will not fire unless you have a solid purchase on this. Then we're going to come down to the king. The king of all 45s, and I'm just going to end this right now, as far as durability and reliability, is the HK USP 45. It's the most tested firearm, period. I'm not talking about, whoa, I saw this guy and he put all these different guns in buckets of mud. No. I'm talking about actual round count, and round count without cleaning, round count with low maintenance, round count in bad weather. No other pistol is as durable or reliable as the HK USP 45. Basically, the HK USP 45 was a polymer double stack 1911 with a single action, double action trigger with a frame safety, a grip safety, frame safety, like a 1911, but you could decock it as opposed to on the slide. You can also carry with the hammer down safety on. You can carry hammer down safety off, and you can carry your hammer back safety on like a 1911. The slide stop is the biggest and the beefiest and easiest to hit with gloves, i.e. that trigger guard's so big. So if you're in the Arctic and you want to wear gigantic gloves, no problem handling this. So a lot of people understand where that comes from. The proprietary rail coming from 1995, even though the original design was 93, coming in 40 caliber, it was the first pistol to have a factory rail. You could get an adapter now to fit more modern rails like these Glocks or these XDs or the SIG. But I don't mount stuff on my guns. But if you wanted to bring it to date for that, you could. Even the most modern USPs do not change to update the rails. The mag release is a double paddle ambidextrous from the bottom here, and some people love that, some people don't. I love it, and I'll explain reasons why. It's easy to reach from both sides. You could be shooting, you could use your trigger finger, don't worry about your thumb, and just use your trigger finger, or use this thumb here, or both, or use your middle finger, whatever you want to do. The other benefit of this, while shooting, if your magazine's loaded, there's no way your magazine's coming out because you have to press down, but while shooting, your middle finger's there. And there's no way to have an accidental magazine release, which is really important. Also, here's another factor. When this is in a holster, these paddle releases are the best while in a holster. Why? Because all these other guns with these left-sided mag release for right-handed shooters, depending on your holster and depending on how you carry, it is possible that you could accidentally, if it gets pushed up against your body, the mag release could get pushed just enough. But so not enough because your gun is going to be carrying like this generally, right? Barrel down. The mag might just pop out enough, and then when you pull the gun out, you might be fired that first round, and then your whole magazine falls out. Also, you could be very embarrassed in public if your magazine comes out while you're getting out of the car because it was already depressed a little bit. And now could be getting you into some type of disturbing the peace situation or just being extremely awkward. So the double paddle release, if you understand it, it's the most secure design. While shooting, and most secure design while holstered or dropped, it's not going to come out. Or with the regular standard mag releases here, not that I have any problem with these, but there was a pistol, the Ruger SR 45, which is a bigger version of the 9mm version. Back then, the first striker fired for Ruger. Nice gun, cheap, but I've noticed while carrying when I come home, the because it was ambidextrous like this, but this is more stiff. The ambidextrous magazine release on the XD. On the Ruger, it was quite loose, and when I come home, the magazine was always slightly ejected, and that really bothered me. And so I traded back to a gun store, and I said, I can't operate this or carry this where I have to be worried about my magazine might be depressing itself, and it's just for many reasons. So I digress. These are all reliable, but obviously these are going to be superior to reliability and durability with just more modern designs and stronger designs than the 1911. Well, there's nothing wrong with 1911, but plus P use in 1911, you might want to go to stiffer springs, but I wouldn't recommend shooting a lot of plus P out of it in 1911, especially if you go with an aluminum frame. You could end up beating up and cracking your frame. I would just keep standard pressure for the most part, or limited usage in plus P with the 1911. That's just my opinion. So elegance and looks really might go to the 1911. The feel might go to 11. There's a lot of winning on the 1911. What you're losing is the capacity due to the skinnier size, but ease of carrying. But you're also getting more weight with less capacity, and also more maintenance. You need to clean and lubricate this. It's a tighter fitting gun, and you want it to be when shooting, this will heat up faster, and because it's just tighter, and that lubrication will wear off faster, period. Where the Glocks, for example, you could see right through them. Let's see, let's close the slide on that Glock. You could literally see right through it. So I mean, even though the gun is slide to frame it's on, but it's literally air cooled. It's literally it's connected at 4 points, 2 front points in the front, 2 points in the back, and even though but the actual barrel is locked up to the slide, and the barrel is locked up in a steel insert in the frame, so it is quite strong lockup, and actually can be suited for plus P. On the HK USP 45 manual, it does even say the pistol can handle constant usage of plus P and even plus P plus, where you won't find that on these other firearms. There are some people that will even shoot 45 Super, which is more than 45 plus P plus. It almost be 45 plus P plus. Plus, I don't think they make that. So basically, you're getting into 10 millimeter range as far as pressure. Not exactly as pressure, but as far as power. You can get really hot with the USP and not worry about. A lot of guys use this even for bear country and everything, because with ammo like Buffalo Bore, you can go plus P plus on a heavy load, and be very sure that the gun can handle it. This is the strongest design here, period. And before the USP was released, they started testing it in 1989 and didn't release the 40 caliber to 1993 and the 45 to 1995. So you're talking about the HK before they release something. When I say they test stuff, I mean, for example, HK told me that the company Federal Ammunition had a USP 9 version of this, and they had it for their lot testing where they make ammunition, and they would test batches of boxes of ammo throughout the different lots, make sure it was in spec. And they had a recorded 250,000 rounds of plus P9 ammunition. I don't know over how many years to eventually the frame cracked. So I don't know any pistol here that's going to go 250,000 rounds of plus P, which is much harder than 250,000 rounds of non-plus P. Plus P9 is pretty high pressure as well. Whereas in the 45, even you go plus P, the 45 is just a lower pressure cartridge. It's a bigger round, but it's less energy per square foot in the sense of the 45. It's going to be easier on the gun if it's built right for it. And this thing is built really right. It is rather big, it's rather beefy, but it doesn't feel extremely heavy. It's a little heavier in some ways than the Glock, but it's a little more balanced. Whereas the Glock, you see how it goes like that? All the Glock's weight, you can really feel it in that big, chunky boy, thick boy rectangle slide. And there's like no weight in the Glock frame at all. The polymer, everything here is more reinforced, more stiff, more steel inserts in the frame than the Glock. The Glock, you could squeeze this plastic. you can't squeeze the HK. You could kind of squeeze a little with the XD. I digress though. So the HK is going to be the king. It's also going to be the most expensive. It's going to be the most expensive. But the guide rod system on the HK is superior. Let's take them apart real quick and I'll show you the internals. And I'm going to post a separate video from the range.